it's going to be very hard for him. So introducing our red player in the top left of the map, one of China's finest, it is Cyan.
And already with the probe moving across the map from the upper right, Blue Protoss is Haas. Proxy in the natural.
This is going to be interesting. Yeah. And these two are pretty matched, well matched historically in terms of pro play as well. So we're going to see a proxy gate come in behind the natural on this short rush distance map. Cyan's like, you know what, I'm going to be safe. I'm going to scout after my gateway, but he's not going to have that much time to respond. A couple of gateways will go down. Is it going to be 2 or 3? I think it's going to be a 3-gate proxy, but it could just be 2-gate into a gas and a cybercore. No, he's not probing. It's going to be 3-gate zealot. My lord. Oh, 2-gate forge even. Oh.
All right.
Classic mineral only. Cannons and zealots. This is hard to stop. Oh, and on this version of the map, cannons can reach the gas and almost to the minerals from the low ground. There's a really nasty... Oh, those cannons can get so deep in this position. This is going to be hard to stop. Haas does wall off Cyan from pulling to the low ground, saying, you know what, just 2 probes, no worries. And he's going to use that to provide a bit of high ground vision. A gateway gets cancelled to create an opening, having to build his own forge as Cyan. But if you lose gas control, you can't play Stargate versus Stargate. This is looking very scary for Cyan. If this turns into a proxy Stargate afterwards, which it often does, then that could be very problematic. Not to mention, even just the Zealots is the real problem for now. Just stabilizing against the Zealots is going to be tough.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those probes are pulled. They're trying to get rid of the cannons, but the Zealots are going to be here soon to fight, and that's going to be a big part of the problem as well. Our first cannon does have to cancel. Haas goes and doubles down on another cannon to the side. The Zealot will come across, try and shoot down these probes, but we have gotten rid of both the initial cannons, so that is a slowdown. We're going to go for the next one as well, but again, the Zealot will try and defend this here. Is it enough? Now actually a Zealot from Cyan able to come through, and he is going to get rid of this cannon as well. So he's really delaying the setup, and that gives him a chance to get his own cannons in range, and that means that his own cannons will be online. That's going to be huge as long as he holds his wall, and that Zealot goes down now, but I think he's done enough big.
I think so. He's got to just target his cannon on Haas's cannons. Haas cancels them, realizing, okay, we're not going to get those cannons up. Back out, probe up, and just run the Zealots and the probes, and he's got 2 probe, 2 Zealots caught inside the main. And the Adept is building, but it's not ready yet. He can deny a lot of mining time. He's going to try and build cannons behind the mineral line. Oh, no. Cyan is losing so much mining. He's already down 14 probes against 17. Gases are building behind this. Dude, Haas going for a nasty cannon rush on Ghost River. Cyan trying to hide in the pocket. The Adept will eventually deal with it, but I think Cyan needs to run to the natural. I don't think he can lose any more probes. He's trying to engage and surround this, but the Zealots and the probes are doing so much. I mean, this is a disaster. Losing 12 workers here for 2. Yes, some Zealots go down. Yes, you put your gateways on the front, but there's already a cybercore at home. There's a full wall off in case the Adept comes across the map. And can you seriously depower that proxy with just 1 Adept? I don't think so. Which means he's just going to be able to chrono Stalkers out of it if he wants, Haswell. And he's got such a big eco advantage. This is such a tough spot for Cyan.
Yeah, this is this is difficult. I mean, the only benefit now is that it's going to be very hard for Haas to do much else. This cannon will deal damage soon as they come in, although the Zealots will actually get through, and the Adept went on the map, so we need the Stalker to pop out to help. Full wall off here from Haas, so there's not going to be access available for Cyan, and that means he can't do too much on the other side, and yeah, it turns into a weird situation. Cyan has a way faster warp gate. Is that something he can utilize at all? I mean, he's sitting on, what, a single gateway, so not really even, you know?
He can't wall off as well. He can't wall off right now because there's 2 openings. So unless he goes and builds 2 buildings, which is very expensive, these Adepts, they're going to shade in. Like, you're going to lose so many probes. Your economy's already weak. He's trying to get a shield battery in the front. That doesn't wall off either side. And he's going to go, oh gosh, I'm about to take so much damage. The Stalker's just running back to the mineral line. The probes need to run. He cannot stay in range of that. He's got to get these probes out. Already 2 of them going down. This is damage he can't afford to take right now.
Yeah, every single probe is just going to hurt you so much. You're already behind on the economy, now losing workers on top of it. 1 Adept shades out. There's 2 new Adepts building as well. And now a robo facility starts back at home from Haas, so he gets some tech down. Something that Cyan can't really even think of affording just yet.
Oh, dude, another shade getting in. Oh, but is that actually walled off on the left? No, he can just walk straight through, but he was trying to go south there, so a slight miss micro for Haas. Nice little kind of just dodgy block by Cyan, but Cyan is dead. He's just lost too much economy at this point. I mean, he's got a few Stalkers, like, maybe I'm being a bit hyperbolic there because technically you could do some stuff because the production's depowered now. That is something, but the thing is there's just no pressure on Haas. Like, you just need to build units at home steadily, and Cyan's got to take 3-4 minutes just to rebuild his economy. during which time you can expand, you can do a one-base kind of 3-gate robo all-in, and Cyan, I mean, there's no way you can do counter damage here, so it's a very rough position to be in. It all just comes off that quick proxy gate cannon rush combo. Really well played by Haas, and I love the pylon block to deny the probes getting to the low ground. That's really what set him up for success this game.
Yep. No, absolutely. It is. It's really been a crazy game, and leading to this point now, Immortal Pop and Prism on the way. Haas is going to find himself this game 1 victory. There was honestly a moment as well where I really felt as though Cyan had like held it off, but just the access to the main base was so brutal. And with Warp Gate done, Prism out, Immortal coming across the map, there's no defense possible here from Cyan, who's still just been struggling on workers this entire time. This is going to be very, very tough, if just straight up impossible. So looking as though Haas is going to have himself game number 1, and Asia continues to be as wild as ever. Big.
I think pulling workers off gas onto minerals would have been a bit better here for Cyan. Like, I know you need some tech, but I think putting 6 workers on gas when you had only 10 on probes for a little bit was a bit too much. Like, I think minerals is the most important thing to recover, and he realizes that now, but I mean, he needed to optimize everything to have a chance of getting back in this game. And, you know, it's like there's no room for error when you've had a start like this. He's got 4 Stalkers, a cannon, a battery, and a dream. That Prism for Haas is frightening.
Yep. The micro potential here is just obviously absolutely huge. The Immortal firepower is massive. We get 1 force field down. That's already going to block out a Stalker. The battery's already running out of energy. Stalker's just having a bad time. And this Prism will be able to just stand and warp in as well. Another Stalker derps through. And Haas just takes absolutely every part of this fight that he needs to. He can walk up this ramp. There is no stopping him. There's nothing bad to be an Immortal, but then it's 1 Immortal with no micro potential because the Prism is here from Cyan. From Haas. It's just so powerful compared to what Cyan can muster up. And that is going to be GG. Haas takes game number 1 on the back of the 2-gate forge.
Is it going to be Nexus first? Is it going to be some form of weird, 3-gate robo proxy? Or is he just going to build his gateways in your natural and rush you? The range of Haas is second to none. His weakness as a player, and it's a very glaring one, is playing a standard game. He cannot really do that at a very high level. And that's always been his weakness. But when you have 50 different types of weird that you can do that are all requiring different responses, it's tough. And you'd think a gate scout usually pretty safe, but in this case Cyan's like, probably should have pylon scouted. Not something you normally want to do in a PvP, but against Haas you might feel like, oh, you need to actually do this just because it's so frustrating dealing with all these curveballs that Haas throws your way.
Yep, I'm just gonna be a moment here for Haas to reset his VPN, and we'll be off into this game number 2. And to see what curveball he's going to throw next, because you're right, it's never one straight trajectory for Haas. It's never just down the normal road. It is almost always something a little bit funky, a little bit different, and I think that's what makes it exciting to watch, because you know something's going to happen. You know it's going to be some kind of weird, and yet it's the good kind of weird, because your opponent, even though the opponent knows it's likely coming, they're not going to be able to stop it all the time. So, yeah, Haas taking this game number 1. Cool to see.
Yeah. I hope to see. I wish there was more Zergs playing. I'm kind of sad, like Lemon, for instance, is playing, Protoss this season and stuff, because I'm like, dude, Haas's PvZ is like one of the craziest, most entertaining, weird things. Like, I just remember, like, there's so many times in StarCraft where Haas has made me go, oh, that's not a good thing you're doing. And then I get to the end of the game and I go, that's kind of good in its own weird way. Like, if you haven't seen that a bunch of times, you don't know the exact response, it doesn't quite work. Like, I remember, we saw Speed Prism Disruptor. We're like, oh, cool. He might go for like a 2-base push with like sentries and stalkers. And he's like, no, it's 8-gate charge with 2 disruptors. And I pull off gas completely. And I'm like, you can do this? Like, disruptor charge lot all in? And he's like, yeah, but it's really hard to stop. In PvT, he's famous for, of course, bringing out the 110 probe, a billion bases, just 2 gases, nothing but zealots and stalkers, double forge. He was doing that for a long time, beating top players for a couple weeks until they figured it out. It's really one of those things. He's always got new tricks. The Nexus First meta a few years ago started in the Taiwanese region, before the regions were combined with Haas, and Nice going back and forth with Nexus First wars and really struggling to actually beat it, even when you open up with like a very quick proxy robo. So the range is going to be something for Cyan to get a hold of, and Cyan, more scouting oriented, a bit more defensive oriented. He's a father. He has multiple kids. Cyan, he's a macro dad. He wants to scout and react. Haas, on the other hand, is you're just unashamed bachelor. He's got his anime waifu posters on his wall. He's ready to cheese the heck out of this and go back to playing some fun, you know, anime visual novel style games. It's going to be fun.
You know, it's kind of cool though to see Haas doing well is also because it feels like Haas kind of simmered down a little bit over the past couple of seasons of the Asia region. You know, I feel like his results weren't as Haas level as we're used to seeing, right? From him being kind of the champ of Taiwan for a long time until Nice took over that mantle. So,
there was a rumor in the Taiwanese scene that he wasn't really practicing a few years ago. And he was kind of like, oh, I'm not that, you know, into the game. I'm basically just rocking up and seeing if my old skill and builds can get me through. And he was still beating everybody. And like, I remember he'd actually lost to Nice a few seasons when this rumor started going around. And I remember speaking to Nice and stuff. And Nice was like, oh yeah, you know, he's not practicing. Like, very much. I think Rex is going to beat him this season. I don't think I'll even need to beat him. And then like he beat everybody because Haas's style is not necessarily about having a ton of prep. It's about having a good intuition to how to catch your opponents off guard and then knowing how to leverage that. And he still has such a deep bag of tricks that he was able to do that. I don't know what the status is in terms of how hardcore he's training these days. His results definitely did fall off a little bit. I know he was like dropping series to like Mio Micah in the regionals and a few other players who he used to dominate. But I feel like when you're a competitive guy like Haas, you do that for a while and it kind of stokes the fire a little bit. And you come back after losing a few seasons earlier than you feel you should have. And you maybe have a few fresh tricks up your sleeve.
Yeah. I also felt as though Haas almost started playing more normally as well, where I was like, it's like, whoa, why isn't Haas like proxying every game? So it's like, here he is. He puts the proxy out game one. I'm like, okay, my boy's back. As we have had some issues with the map getting set up, but okay, I was just about to say Cyan is not set as Protoss, but he fixed that in time. But yeah, we had some issues with the map getting set up, but we're good now. It's going to be Oceanborn for map 2. Haas has a 1-0 lead, and we'll see if he's going to keep on bringing the crazy going into map number 2 of this.
Haas and Cyan. All right, here we go. Oceanborn's going to be a good map. There's a giant squid floating around this map. We'll see if that factors into it. It shouldn't really. It doesn't actually affect the gameplay. It's literally just a shadow animation. But we are going to be getting straight on into the map. And in the bottom right side, already up one game in this series with a cheesy opening. Might be time for him to mix it up with some greed. In the bottom right, it's Haas.
And the top left, looking to bring it back from Mystery Gaming, it is Cyan.
Haas is, of course, playing for Psystorm right now. Both a fantastic American-based team, as well as a great ability that he does like to spam out against Terrans occasionally. Going to be going for a no-scout opening. Both players going for the gate on the high ground, a more conservative approach, and it's Cyan, who's a bit more scouting-oriented. Haas, who's happy to take the risk, skip that. I really do embrace, I think he embraces that, like I said, the coin flip nature of PvP. He leans into it. Other players do everything they can to mitigate randomness and variance, whereas I mean Haas in general has always been a gambler, so he's happy to try to, you know, he tries to stack the odds in his favor. He tries to catch his opponent off guard, but it's a lot of, I don't think you'll be ready for this. If you are, it's really bad for me, but I think I can catch you off guard. And Cyan, on the other hand, he's going to be looking to feel things out. So far already a little bit ahead in the pro production is Cyan. So no second chrono going down here for Haas. He's saving his energy for now. Could be a sign of something. Like, that leads into a faster 4-gate potentially. If you chrono warp gate, could be a double chrono on 2 adepts across the map. So a few different options that you can do with that extra chrono. And already it's something for Cyan to think about. Why did you not chrono your probes a second time?
Yeah. Little things, right? Just in PvP, there's little bits of energy that aren't spent. And in mirror matchup, those do make differences. They do enable different things to happen. So this is information you want to pick up on and figure out. You see 2 adepts, the choice from Haas in terms of initial units versus the double stalker from Cyan. So Haas definitely wants to get out on the map, try and shade adepts by, try and cause trouble. Cyan very much so just going for that more straight up setup, but there's the proxy robo. Bottom left from Haas as well, so the proxy is there. And that's where that chrono boost is going to be going to.
This is a scary one, man. We've seen, honestly, anyone who's played enough PvP is haunted by proxy robo. Oh, good scout though, dude. Great scout. He sees it. Already got a few stalkers, more building, and defensive robo is usually the standard here. However, yeah, defensive robo does go down for Cyan. We saw this exact same matchup in GSL recently, Hero versus Stats, and It doesn't necessarily mean you're safe. I really liked State's commentary of that match. He was pointing out, you know, you can see it, but if they get a forward position on your low ground, they can force field you in your base. They could pick off the gateways from the low ground using their prism. You've already got a pylon exposed on the low ground. So as Cyan, you don't want to just stay alive. You want to be able to control this space outside your base. And I think one advantage he has is 4 Stalkers against 2 Adepts. The Stalkers are better at fighting right now, right? They are a more solid unit for engaging, and he's going to go across the map. Oh, this is a really good move, because what you do is you run in the main, you kill like 10 probes, and then you either force them to recall or you recall home. Problem, Haas has actually prepared for it. He's walled off with a gateway. So you can just see the level of understanding of these situations is big. Nonetheless, you can depower those gates from across the wall off. These Stalkers still could force a big reaction. This game could get real messy, but there's a sentry at home for Cyan. His Stalkers are ready to go in. He's holding back for now. Haas poking forwards with his Immortal, his Adepts as well. Both sides getting ready to go. This game's about to hit the fan.
It's all wearing up here. As the warp gates move in, they're going to see the probe. Now the Stalker's showing up, and this means that you're in some trouble there as Haas, because again, if you lose that pylon, you lose power to your gateways. You kind of got to make a move. The defensive setup obviously just looks a lot better for Cyan. He's got a lot more in place already. We are building a replacement pylon here, but is that going to be enough? We lose power for a moment. The Stalker's trying to buy some time, and for the moment, that is going to work out. Haas is bringing his army back home, Pig, which means he's going to come all the way back. And Cyan with his own Robo now in production. He's got an Immortal out. He's going to match in the Prism as well. So he's getting all of that added together.
Good damage on the Prism. That could come into factor later. You want to get these units out, though. At some point, he has to just stop running and recall, or he's going to lose them all. Cyan has to make that call, and he's got to make that call soon. He does make it. Well done. Dude, not even losing a single Stalker of great time-buying tactics. And now he goes for an Immortal Stalker drop as well. Dude, Cyan is really clever at staying on the high ground while counterattacking and chronoing an Observer. Now is Haas. Needs to build more pylons. He's a little supply blocked right now, and he does go for another pylon at home. This is a very even game. 23 probes for Haas. He's actually adding another one, 24 for Cyan. The counter drop could be huge. How is Haas going to deal with this?
Yep, he is going to have to deal with the pressure while still trying to hold map control, and that is the problem. Cyan is taking the risk again across the map, but I think it's going to be a worthwhile risk. It looks like it's going to pay off. Haas is going to have 2 Stalkers here, but again, that Immortal, it's just such a problem. It's not easy to fight against at all. The Warp and Adept, which will be a little bit tankier against the Immortal, but still not ideal. You got to be able to fight, because otherwise you lose this pylon, you lose your gateway power, then you're in trouble. He's going to kill a gateway on the other side of the map at the same time, but now he has no Warp-ins, and again, with that Prism Micro, these units just do not die, and that just means that this is so powerful. And Cyan couldn't work there. Force field gets the kill.
He gets it.
Huge
Dude,
play.
that was huge. That is so big, right? That force field. Because I was like, look, the way Haas is sieging that while frantically microing at home, he's open to it. Like, units can get picked up. He gets a gateway. Losing an Immortal, not worth it. An Immortal costs 3 times as much as a gateway. It's a super expensive unit. Not only that, Cyan has Phoenix on the way. We learned this many years ago back when Parting was doing tons of proxies. In this scenario, a lot of people think expanding is how you get ahead, but it's not. It's getting Phoenix, because Phoenix can disable Immortals while costing way less money. They also can shoot down Warp Prism, which is the most important unit in this game. So having Phoenix out now, each Phoenix you build is huge. Haas is going to have to try to focus them down with his Stalkers. Easier said than done. Immortal comes back in, trying to depower these gateways yet again, going for these Stalkers. Doesn't manage to pick him off. Good micro by Haas. I got to say, Haas's micro, you know, sometimes people throw shade at his mechanics, but his micro, when it comes to small unit skirmishes, is second to none. He is very, very practiced in these scenarios, but he just needs a few more units, and without those gateways being actually powered, he can't really warp anything else in here.
Yeah, the fact that these gateways keep getting depowered is like the biggest issue, right? You just consistently missing out. You consistently end up in trouble here, and that is indeed becoming more and more of a problem. Phoenix on the way from a Cyan as well, so he's going to actually have a pretty good response to all this. Oh, we're going to get the catch on the double Immortal. That's the force fields. Can we
no
take
prism there?
Yeah. Oh, the
Battery
Phoenix
overcharge though, dude. Battery overcharge is huge, not to mention the Phoenix disables. The Immortal, it's like, haha, I trapped your Immortal on top of the ramp, it's stuck fighting me. The Immortal did so much damage for Cyan with battery overcharge. That was huge. Like it could have been a disaster losing 2 Immortals. It turned into a perfectly fine engagement for Cyan. Maybe not the best, but he's still out on units lost, and now he's dropping the Robo. Oh, recall is not available to save this. Haas has lost so many pylons, guys. He's lost 4. That's pylon number 5 going down. He's going to get number 6 and get out of there. This is a disaster for Haas. Cyan, picture perfect response. I mean, the Prism can repower that gateway. It's just slightly out of range. Oh, if he loses the Prism? No, it's only 2 Stalkers. They can't take care of it. But
Wow.
either way, a problem. The thing is, because now he can't get a probe out of his base unless he sends his Prism home. So what does he do? Does he leave the Prism here, or does he give up powering the robot, or does he give up having the Prism on the front? He has to make a terrible decision now. Cyan is putting him in an awful spot.
Yeah, Cyan's playing it wonderfully. He's taking the advantage of being the player without a proxy on the map, right? So he has so many places he can hit and punish his opponent. I think there's got to be careful there. Haas had a couple units go in different directions. Looks like Haas is just going to try and commit to send it, but yeah, obviously that is not necessarily looking as though it's going to be ideal. The Phoenix can take out all of the power units here, just really give you no DPS in this army. This does not look great for Immortal. Seems great until the Phoenix take them all out of it, so let's see what Haas can do. He books forward, he gets a force field for a single Stalker. That ain't a bad start, but there's such a long way to go right now.
4 Immortals, a bunch of sentries, Adept, Stalkers, and that Warp Prism out front. It's a big army, but the spread from Cyan is near perfect. He's going to have his own zoning force fields. The Adept shading into the main is a way of trying to force your opponent's hand, right? But there's plenty of units in the main waiting for that with the Phoenix. Able to pick those up just way too easily, not to mention Adepts of his own. Cyan has an expansion. He's got Phoenix that can disable the Immortals. When push comes to shove, if he just picks up all the Immortals, he's just got so much more going for him in this army. Not to mention similar army supply. Battery is here. Prism saves the Immortal. Good few pickoffs for Haas, but he's losing some of his own units as well. Oh, does get himself an Immortal. Not bad. That's 2 for 1 so far this game in terms of overall Immortal trades, but the disable from the Phoenix is going to be huge. Picking up those units. The battery overcharge is massive. The Prism doing its work. The Prism's going to go down on Haas's side, and that means Cyan has complete control. A perfect shutdown of the proxy robo. That was as clinical as they come.
Yeah, really just took it step by step. Really was, again, abusing Haas not being able to defend at home, not being able to defend the robo facility as well. Got his own defense up in a great way. And that is going to tie us up here. Cyan is going to hold off against the proxy shenanigans of Haas, and we get to go to a game 3 in this series. And we got to love that, Pig, because today's game has been actually very fun, very competitive, very back and forth, a lot of close holds and all the rest of it. Now Cyan and Haas going to end up going to a game 3. It's going to be Alcyone as well. Definitely room for crazy here.
Yeah, there's gold bases, and I mean... It really does feel like there's certain players who are a bit more cheeky, creative, cheesy, some would say, hyper-aggressive, some would call Haas. And it does feel a little bit like a gold base is a bright light for a mosquito, you know, at night. It's like, you know, let's just, oh, it's summer, the mosquitoes are out, let's just leave the door open, leave the fly screen wide open, turn a bright light on, seems like a good idea. Haas, he's going to want to take the gold base in some way, whether it's very aggressive opening, you get Cyan turtling up a bit, and then you take the gold behind it, rushing to it. It's something that Cyan will have in the forefront of his mind. Haas might do the 300 IQ move and just completely ignore the gold base. Maybe go for the rich gas. There's purple gas bases on this as well, up on the other side, which is something players don't think about as much in the early stages. That also can lead to some really nice, like, Archon heavy compositions and that sort of thing. I definitely think sentries will be on the menu as something that you want to be building to get early scouting after your initial probe as Cyan, and I just can't wait to see what they're going to bring out. I definitely think Cyan feels confident after the last game. Do you think he scouts immediately after Pylon, or is it just another gate scout once again? You have to flip a coin.
I feel like you just scout as early as possible. I feel like Cyan's more comfortable as long as the game goes on if you live. The earlier you get scout, yeah, it's a bit of an eco disadvantage if he doesn't do anything, but like the information, the ability to kind of just know, I think is such a huge deal against Haas, who clearly today is playing aggressively as well, right? You know, if it was one of those days where Haas was maybe playing a bit more normally and sometimes doing something crazy, but 2 games he's been really all-out aggressive. I think you scout as early as possible, get that info, and get yourself to the comfortable stage of the game as safely as you can.
I agree, and because of that, I think the peak decision-making for Haas is really to mimic a normal game for the first 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, you know, sneak in the sneaky shift, but disguise it. Really disguise it. Because so far, it's been fastest rush possible game 1. Caught him off guard. Great execution. Gets good enough position. Game 2, yet again. Second fastest rush possible. Proxy Robo. Gets scouted. Manages to get deflected that time, just barely. Game 3, I think it's like, okay, okay, it's 2 gate on the high ground. I'm making a sentry and a stalker. I'm doing my own sentry hallucination scouting. But then at some point we sneak in a Dark Shrine or we sneak in a gold base, you know, we do something like that. So For me, I'm looking for misdirection from Haas because both of Haas's builds have completely lacked misdirection so far. They've been in your face and obvious, and if you do that 3 times in a row, we've already seen Cyan level up from game 1 to game 2. You do it in the 3rd game, and I think it's going to be a rough happenstance. So for me, this is very much decided on how well Haas can trick Cyan.
Yeah, trickery is the name of the game, and to be fair, if there's anyone that can be trickery, we know Haas is, cheesy and all the rest, but sometimes to be able to do that, you need to be able to do it while, again, feigning that normality. Make your opponent play into something else to empower your attacks. So, gotta imagine that is going to be part of the idea here. As we count on down, Alcyone is going to be the map, and we get this one up and running. Cyan versus Haas PvP action. We kick this off in just a couple of moments and get underway with this final game of the series. Figure out who's going to be 2-0 in this group and who's going to be at 1-1 at the end of this matchup. As we are going to start out in the bottom left-hand side with the Mystery Gaming Red Protoss player, Cyan.
And in the top right, in the blue, representing Storm, it is Haas. So far, both players just going for the high ground pylon. No 1-gate expands, and that is fair enough. Cyan's always been one of my favorite players. Like, he's a bit older now. Like I said, he's a dad. He has kids. He's, he says, like, sometimes he does struggle to find the time with young ones around to, like, get his practice in before these tournaments. But he's a very, 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 like, lovely player. I mean, most of the players are in StarCraft, but I'm always struck by Cyan with how much effort he makes to try and communicate and say hello to everybody. And if he does get stuck on his English, he'll pull his phone out and you can have like a bit of a conversation with him where you just kind of have to translate things once in a while. But his English is actually really quite good. It's improved over the years with all the different events he's been to. Maybe not quite as good as Oliveira's because he has, actual super fluent English. He'll say, oh, my English isn't strong at all. Then you talk to him and you're like, you sound like you speak English like every day, man. Like, it's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah. That's really true. I love that. It's like, sorry, my English is not good. I'm like, I think you speak better English than most of the people I meet in my own country, man.
yeah. A lot of people I grew up around that you got a bit of a more technical knowledge of the language than they do. The grammar's a little bit more correct.
Well, this PvP was starting off normal, and there's the proxy. So obviously, Cyan will notice there's a pylon missing, right? So you're like, okay.
Doesn't look like a proxy though, right? More like a you can't find this pylon. It's
exactly.
a fake proxy, I think, right?
Yeah. So Haas is getting Cyan worried, and they're not actually doing anything yet. So
that's what I like. I mean, I was thinking misdirection, pretend to play normal and then do the weird, but instead he's pretending to play weird and actually doing the normal, and that's even better in my opinion.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah. And I think Haas is good enough to play normal as well, right? So if you can just throw your opponent off a little bit, may not be as strong as the styles, but, if you throw your opponent off a little bit, you make them uncomfortable, then you play a bit more normal. Potential there as well. Cyan opens Stargate alongside a Depths, one of the safe openings. You're going to get a lot of information with this, a lot of map control, potential to harass, but you're going to have the potential to build defensive units as well if necessary, so it puts you in a good spot all around.
Double Stalker coming in behind that, a double Adept for Cyan. Twilight Council's on the way for Haas. I mean, one of Haas's old best all-ins was 1-base Blink. I mean, I remember thinking this is way too late, it never works, and he would do so much magic with 1-base Blink because he just knows the moments really good. He has fantastic micro where he'll do things like, oh, I know now I have enough Stalkers to one-shot a Stalker, runs in, kills 3 Stalkers without losing a single one, gets out of there. He'll go, oh, this is the exact right Stalker count to one-shot an Immortal or a Void Ray, bam, commit to it or 2-shot it. He really knows those numbers deeply because his early game expertise is so deep in this matchup. But playing against 3-gate Robo, you need time to let Blink work. You need time and mobility and running around and, oh, hello. Does catch the proxy.
Yeah, nice little
This looks
catch.
like a pretty committed 3-gate Robo, right? Like, this is super committed from Cyan. He doesn't have to go all in with it, but it looks like he wants to do the classic. This is like the Bud Always build. I mean, Haas has played about 1,000 games against this. The question is, does he know that this is what it is? Because, I mean, he's going 3-gate. It's a 1-base versus 1-base. Blink in the long run is way better tech than Robo. But that's in the long run. In the immediate time, having a Prism and Immortals usually does give you an advantage.
Yeah. No, Prism and like you say, just the numbers immediately will help out a little bit more. But what would he over halfway done to Blink? I mean, Haas, he's flown quite a lot of minerals. I keep seeing a probe go into the low ground. I think he's going to expand, but he's actually expanding on the gold base. That obviously is not going to immediately help him either. That is money spent not quite on this setup. There's a couple sentries warp in. The prism already coming across. We are going to see this gold, so Cyan is already going to have an initial target here. He's going to know some, one location he can focus on. He's not going to show the prism yet. Doesn't fly over it because the Nexus has low vision when it's building. So yeah, well played by Cyan in that regard too.
Dude, the information gathering from Cyan is huge. Haas's info is so much lower in this game. He comes in, does immediately lose that as well. So it feels like these Adepts could get big damage, but I actually like that Cyan's just waiting. Because he's like, if I go in now, you're probably just going to clean them up. I'll kill 2 or 3 probes. But if I wait, send the Adepts in the main while I'm attacking elsewhere, that's when I can find big damage. And building a second Immortal, right? Just waiting for more units and then moving out with an army that is going to destroy in a frontal fight. Stalkers have to counterattack. If Haas sees this moving out, counterattacks with his Stalkers, defends at home with some warp-ins, he can win. Just because Blink mobility is hands down the better thing. But he doesn't have the information right now. Cyan does. And Cyan is the one who's got all of the initiative. Haas, he's in the top left corner of the map with next to no map vision. He's so blind right now, and it's really costing him. Cyan knows what's going on. He's well prepared. That being said, there is a Stalker and a battery in the main. Haas is mentally prepared at least for a base trade.
Yep. It's going to be the mental prep, which is good. I mean, honestly, again, having Blink right now gives you so much kind of ability. It's just a numbers game. We're going to recall the Stalkers just for the Prism to leave, and now the third, well, now it's on third base. The gold base is going to go down, so Cyan just jumps on this. That's going to be a denial, and yeah, Haas is now without the Nexus and still struggling to supply, and he's actually supply blocked as well, on top of everything.
Yeah, that's very, very costly. Now, he's going to send some Stalkers across. If he dove in for the counterattack with his Stalkers, it would have been much better. Because, having ramp control Cyan with force fields, you can't really pick at him using your Blink here. It's going to be very tough. You can try, but easier said than done, right? He's just like, oh, yeah, let's get back from here. He just used his Blink. He's got to be careful, man. Once you use your Blink, you can get trapped. And we are going to see some good Prism Micro so far. Gateway does get picked off. Cyan's doing pretty well. We'd like to see Cyan maybe take an expansion of his own. The Stalker counterattack, though, that is enough to one-shot workers. There's no real prep at home for this. Those Stalkers are going to get in the main, but he's going to go for it himself. Oh me, oh my. Very big commitment from Cyan. He's got the Immortal staying power. Massive damage going down behind this, but look at that. Battery overcharge is just going to get sniped. The Prism goes down almost instantly. Diving on the Immortals. One Immortal does go down. Has with some great focus fire, but he's losing so many units at the same time.
Yep, and that's going to be seeing Cyan able to take this big fight, is able to get a lot done. Cyan just has the numbers still in this base, knocking down Stalker after Stalker, and it looks as though Cyan is just going to have enough to stick around. He continues to fight. A few Stalkers on the other side from Haas have done great. Cyan has basically no economy left, but again, if neither player has economy, larger army should typically win, and that's 35 to 14 army supply. Don't think Blink's going to save you here, and obviously there is just, the fact that you can sit here and kill these buildings, so you do have to then attack in. Just going to be seeing the pylon get knocked down, the other structures looking to be in trouble. This does seem as though Cyan is on the verge of finding a victory here in game number 3 and closing out this series in his favor.
Feels like Cyan knew what Haas was thinking, whereas Haas was like, oh, I guess he's kind of paranoid. I'll take a gold base. And then it felt like Cyan was just one step ahead at each phase of this game, where he was a bit more prepared. Stalkers tried to blink in, and doing blink like that aggressively, not going to work. But he didn't want to lose the base trade, so he kind of goes for it. If he could somehow have picked off the Stalkers, he could have out-microed those Adepts and Sentries, of course, but